Hello and welcome to this Price-A-Job tutorial. In this video we'll be discussing the Scaffolding module in Price-A-Job. To access the Scaffolding module, go to the Preparations category here in the Module toolbar and select Scaffolding. And click Create. There are three different types of scaffolding that we can choose from, including static, portable towers, and chimney scaffolding. Chimney scaffolding charges a different rate, so this is in a different category. Let's start by taking a look at static. And we'll expand our sketch pane to full screen to get a better understanding of how this works. As we input the height of our scaffolding, Price-A-Job will automatically calculate how many lifts are required. So for example, a single-story house, only 2.4 meters, you may only require a single lift. A two-story house, at 4.8 meters, may require 2 lifts. And if we also want to access the roof line, with a 6-meter scaffolding, 3 lifts will be required. Then we can also input the length of the scaffolding required. If you only require a single span, that may be straightforward enough. However, if you're looking to surround the perimeter of a building, you'll have to make a slight modification to your calculation. For example, the floor plan of a building may be 10 meters long by 4 meters wide. At first glance, you may assume that this would require a perimeter of 28 meters of scaffolding. However, due to the corners, the scaffolding must add an extra 1 meter for each corner so the scaffolding will connect. So rather than a 28 meter perimeter, the scaffolding would need to be 32 meters. For this example, we will just stay with a single span of 14 meters. If we look back to our estimate pane, we can see that Price-A-Job has automatically calculated the cost of this scaffolding based on the number of weeks it's required for, and we can adjust the number of weeks required here. Some suppliers charge an extra percentage after a certain number of weeks. The usual rate is 5% charged after 8 weeks. So if we increase this to more than 8 weeks, we can see that an extra charge is automatically added here. If your supplier has a different rate, we can adjust that here in the settings cog. So if, for example, your supplier charges an extra 10% after 10 weeks, we can make those adjustments here. And we can see that the estimate pane automatically updates because our requirement is under 10 weeks. If we increase this to over 10 weeks, then we can see the extra charge is added. Now, if we only needed access to the roofing, we may not require the intermediate lifts, and this would result in a lower cost. And we can adjust that by selecting here top lift only. And the boards for these intermediate lifts are removed from the estimate. But if you'll be requiring those intermediate lifts, like for example a painting job, then you can simply select all lifts, and the boards are added back in and accounted for. Now perhaps we may need several sets of scaffolding. In that case, we can just change the title of this, Scaffolding Main House, and this scaffold set is saved as the scaffolding for the main house. Now we can go to the left here and add another module, and in this case let's add a portable tower. And perhaps we will only need this one for 2 weeks, and we can change the quantity if we want, but in this case we only need 1. And we can set the scaffold type. So let's choose 2 by 1.35 with a height of 8.8 meters. And if there are any delivery or collection charges, we can add that here. And then we'll just rename this module for its specific purpose. Now we can go ahead and add another scaffold module. And this time we will add one for chimney. And this is a specific scaffold design that allows access to the chimney. So the pricing is a bit more expensive than a static scaffold. Here you can adjust the height of the scaffold required, and the length, and the number of weeks for which it is required. And then input the number of chimney scaffolding rigs that you'll require. If there's more than one chimney to be worked on, you may require 2 or more. And the same as we saw earlier, an automatic 5% charge is added to scaffolding required for more than 8 weeks. If your supplier has a different rate, you can update that here. For example, 10% over 10 weeks. In which case, if the time required goes over 10 weeks, then the extra charge would be added. And then we'll change the title of this to reflect its specific purpose. And now we have all 3 of our scaffolding modules here, and if we look at our reports, we can see that each scaffolding section is nicely itemized here and described here in the quote. If we choose a simple quote, then only the grand total is shown. If we select advanced, we can select to show the prices, or just a table of quantities. And that's how to use the scaffolding module. Thank you for using Price a Job.